Imagine looking up one night and seeing a planet the size of Jupiter filling the sky, and then it starts falling toward us. Picture the ground trembling, the seas bulging, and a roar that feels like the world itself is being rewritten. This is not a sci-fi metaphor. It's what would happen if Earth collided with a gas giant. The first thing to know, a gas giant, like Jupiter, is mostly hydrogen and helium, enormously more massive than Earth. Because of that mass, its gravity controls what happens long before the two worlds touch. As the gas giant approached, our orbits would change, tides would grow monstrous, and the moon's motion would go wild. The real drama begins when Earth enters the gas giant's sphere of influence and approaches what physicists call the Roche limit. Inside that boundary, tidal forces from the larger body overwhelm the smaller body's gravity and structural integrity. In practical terms, Earth would start to be pulled apart. Mountains stretched, crust cracked, oceans sloshed into space. Before a literal impact, the planet would be shredded into streams of rock, vapor, and molten debris. Firestorms and shock waves would sweep what remains of the surface. The atmosphere would be ripped away in sheets. Any rocky core or dense fragments that survive initial shredding would plunge deeper into the giant's thick atmosphere. They would encounter crushing pressures and searing temperatures, pressure so high and heat so intense that ordinary matter behaves like an exotic fluid. The kinetic energy of the incoming mass would convert into enormous heat, lighting up the gas giant's atmosphere like a second sun. We saw smaller versions of this when comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 broke apart and slammed into Jupiter in 1994. The scars lasted for months. But Earth is billions of times more massive than those fragments, so the energy release would be apocalyptic by comparison. In the short term, the collision would produce a global fireball, vaporizing anything left of the surface and injecting huge amounts of rock and metal into the giant's envelope. The moon would either be flung into a new orbit, torn apart into a ring, or made to collide with fragments. Its fate depends on timing and geometry. Over weeks and months, the giant would settle. Some Earth material would be mixed into its atmosphere. Some would rain down toward a deepening core. Planetary scientists believe gas giants may have acquired fuzzy, mixed cores precisely because they swallowed rocky protoplanets in the past. That mixing could change the gas giant's heat flow, magnetic field, and even appearance. New belts, bright plumes, unexpected chemical signatures. For any survivors, there would be none that we could imagine as human. The solar system would look profoundly different. Earth as a living biosphere would be gone. Oceans, the crust, and the magnetic shield would be destroyed or consumed. Long term, the gas giant itself might not be destroyed. It already outweighs Earth by a huge margin, but it would be altered forever. In some scenarios, a grazing encounter could produce a hit-and-run outcome. Earth's outer layer stripped, the core perhaps ejected as a scorched remnant. In others, a head-and plunge would deposit material deep in the giant, maybe even changing its interior structure permanently. There is a sobering twist. Collisions like this are not only theoretical giant impacts, helped shape the early solar system, and may have rearranged planets long ago. Models and observations suggest young gas giants sometimes swallow large rocky worlds, leaving clues in their cores and atmospheres. So while Earth meeting a gas giant is essentially impossible in our stable modern solar system, it's the kind of event that has happened elsewhere and shaped planetary systems. The human takeaway is brutal and oddly humbling. Our planet's habitability rests on a razor-thin set of orbital and cosmic circumstances. One last shock. If somehow Earth were to be pulled apart and its pieces absorbed, some atoms that once formed, you might end up in the core of a distant planet, mixed into a different kind of world. That thought, that the stuff of us could be scattered across a giant's atmosphere, is terrifying and strangely poetic. If you found this imagining as fascinating as it was terrifying, Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into cosmic what-ifs. Comment below with the worst space disaster you want explained next, and I'll turn it into a story you can't forget.